Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Inside the Aisle. I'm your host, Nikki Wolf, and as you can see if you're watching on video, we are chatting about men's health today, and specifically, we are talking about testosterone, and so the impact that low testosterone can have on the body, how to improve testosterone levels, and what we can be taking to support adequate levels of testosterone in the body. So let's just dive on in. We are going to be a little sciencey today. So we're putting the science cap on. If you're driving, you might have to listen to this another time over. I try to make things as easy to understand as possible. And I do believe that there is an importance of understanding the anatomy and the biology of whatever topic you're discussing prior to talking about what's helpful for it, because you really need to know the foundation before you can figure out how to serve it or how to support it. So that's what we're going to cover today. Today is all about testosterone. So let's just dive on in. Now, when we are talking about testosterone, there's a few common symptoms of low testosterone. So you might recognize stuff like decreased sex drive, possibly loss of muscle mass, decreased body hair. Those are some pretty common distinguishing factors of low testosterone, but it's also energy and mood and cognitive changes. Weight gain, especially increased abdominal fat. Those are pretty common. Loss of muscle strength that I mentioned, but also loss of bone mass, and then decreased body hair and changes to the skin. So those are kind of very much general symptoms of low testosterone. But what we're going to do today is we're really just going to focus and narrow down to three main categories just to help you understand. And these are some of the most common symptoms of low T. And we're going to use analogies and fun little sayings to help remember those. So we're going to break this down into three different categories. There's mood, muscles, and MOJO. So mood, it's not just the sexual drive and libido, but again, it's that cognitive, that mood boosting, just that feel good where they feel light on their feet. You just are a little bit happier. Muscles, there's a strong correlation between testosterone levels and muscles. So men generally have higher levels of testosterone, so it's generally easier for them to put on muscle mass. And then lastly is MOJO. That's that drive and inner confidence. So as men age, levels of testosterone start to decrease. So, let's say you're a gentleman and you're used to being pretty go-getter and driven. And as you got older, you've noticed you maybe became a little bit more reserved or submissive. A lot of that does have to do with the decrease in testosterone. So again, just to reiterate, we are going over three main functions of testosterone, and that's going to be mood, muscles, and MOJO. And there is a formula for life seasons that targets all three of those, which is fantastic. And it's called masculinity, which we will get to in a second. Now, the next two slides and the next little bit of information is a little science heavy, but just bear with me and just focus on each step along the way. I do believe that this is really important to understand the foundation so you know why is this ingredient helpful and what is it doing. So here we go. And again, just a reminder, we're only going over one function today, or testosterone, and one product. We're not going over any bit more. So this is all you need as far as that brain power capacity. So we're going to talk about aromatase and estrogen. So let's start at that very beginning. Aromatase, all that is it's an enzyme that's going to convert testosterone to estrogen. Now, obviously, we know men and women both have testosterone and estrogen, and in different amounts. Now, estrogen in men is helpful, and it's necessary for healthy physiological function. So things like brain and cognition, libido, and erectile dysfunction. However, when estrogen levels become too high in men, that's what can lead to infertility, erectile dysfunction, delayed puberty, short stature, increased breast tissue. There's more symptoms that can arise from that, but those are some of the most common ones. So again, estrogen's not bad. It's actually necessary for men, but too much estrogen, that's where there's a problem. And again, there's an enzyme that makes that conversion from testosterone to estrogen. So we want to make sure we don't have too many of those enzymes in the body, and we want to inhibit those enzymes. So where natural medicine comes into play is fenugreek. Fenugreek is an herb that acts like an aromatase inhibitor. Sounds fancy, but let's come back. That enzyme that's making that conversion from testosterone to estrogen, so that's going to be the aromatase. It's going to inhibit that enzyme, meaning it's going to make sure we don't have too many of those enzymes so we don't make a huge conversion of testosterone to estrogen. I hope that makes sense. So with that being said, when we're consuming or taking in fenugreek, it's going to help ensure that we don't make too much estrogen, particularly in the male body. And so a decreased testosterone breaker into estrogen means less estrogen. So that's why fenugreek is supportive. And again, aromatase is going to be one of those enzymes that's going to make that conversion. So we're talking about different enzymes and hormones. All right, so we've got the understanding of how this page looks. We got one more for you. So there's testosterone and this funny word called sex hormone binding globulin. Let's break that down. So when a man goes in, or even a woman goes in and checks for testosterone levels for whatever reason, maybe they're having low sex drive, maybe they're having difficulty with an erection. It could be a number of things. So they go in and they go get their testosterone checked. What the doctors are checking for is they pull up total testosterone. And what total testosterone is it's bound testosterone and free testosterone. That's it. So it's just bound plus free testosterone equals total testosterone. Now, it's the free testosterone that's the usable, bioavailable form, and that can freely exert its full effects on the body. When it's bound, what it actually is it's testosterone and this thing called a sex hormone binding globulin. That's a mouthful. And it's bound to it. So I like to think of this as either like shackles on, let's say like a farm animal. Maybe like this farm animal's tied up. And I don't know, I should get better with some farm animals. But like, let's say a cow, and the cow needs to do its work to graze and clear the fields. Well, it's not like adding more cows in there that are all tied up is going to be any bit more helpful. It's bound, so they can't do its benefits. All we need to do is unbind or untie those cows so that they can be free and help produce the work or do what it's meant to do. And so again, that's kind of that, if you think of a bound T or a bound testosterone, so that's that bound cow, it's tied up to a fence. All we need to do is unbind that the tie that's on the cow so that it can roam free. So coming back to, men and hormones, is what we need to do is to make the hormone usable and bioavailable is we need to unbind that testosterone so that we make it usable. And so long jacks is an herb. So think of like long jacks as like the farmer coming in. I don't know why I'm using these analogies. I need to work on it. But maybe it's the farmer coming in, his name's Jackson. Let's say it's that. His name's Jackson. He comes in and he unties the cow so that he can run free and be usable and bioavailable for the farm. That's exactly what Long Jacks is doing in the body. It's going to unbind that sex hormone binding globulin from the testosterone, making it free. And then that is going to lead to more usable testosterone. So the important thing with this is this formula that we're going to get into, masculinity, we're not adding testosterone to your body. This is not something you have to cycle on and off of like maybe a traditional synthetic testosterone, because we're not adding more cows to the farm. We're not adding more total testosterone to the body. We are just unbinding that testosterone. We are unbinding those cows so now they can roam free and do its work. It's going to be funny when I do like a little clip of this video and I just include this cow thing. People are going to be, what the heck are you talking about? But I hope that analogy is helpful. So again, we're not adding more cows or we're not adding more testosterone. We're just unbinding it. So we have now more usable forms of testosterone. All right. So we're done with the science for a little bit. Now we're coming back to those three main functions. So mood, muscles, mojo. So the mood part, we're going to have ingredients like murapama, which is also known as potency wood. That's really good for the body's sex drive. We have maca, which a lot of people are familiar with, and it's also fantastic for women. It supports endurance, energy, stamina, libido. And then there's horny goatweed. That's going to support dopamine. So that's that feel-good hormone to kind of help you feel good. And then catuaba, which is a common Brazilian medicinal herb used as an aphrodisiac. So to help with that sex drive and libido. All right. Then we're going to move on to the muscle support. So if you remember earlier, we were talking about the hormones and that conversion with the enzyme. We want to make sure that we don't have too much estrogen in the body. And so we want to make sure we have as much free testosterone as possible. So tribulus and long jacks, again, remember long jacks was that farmer Jackson. He's going to unbind those cows so that we can have more free testosterone in the body. So those are two herbs that are going to be supportive with that. And then we have fenugreek, which is great for libido. It's great for a number of things. Niacin, which is a B vitamin, crucial for ADP, which is also cellular energy production. So cellular energy is just literally your body needs cellular energy to do anything. So of course, to put on muscle. So that's going to be kind of just a quick recap of muscle support. Again, there's a lot of herbs in this formula that help with other categories, but I'm just kind of narrowing it down to the main ones. And lastly is MOJO, and that's that inner drive or that drive and that inner confidence. And so fenugreek comes back again to make sure we don't have too much estrogen. You have ginkgo, which is great for nitric oxide and vasodilation, and that's going to help with blood flow and circulation and getting things around to the body where they need to be. Korean ginseng is a very good energizing tonic herb and adaptogen. And then again, we see horny goatweed back for that dopamine support. So this is the formula from Life Seasons that targets all three of these, is the mood, the muscles, and the MOJO. And as you can see, if you're looking at the video, just a full spectrum of ingredients at those therapeutic doses. It is such a phenomenal product. Actually, any of the men's formulas in Life Seasons, women can take. And so today we're just talking about testosterone, but what kind of woman would want to take this? Well, if you are struggling losing body fat, and you think about this, the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn, thus the more fat you burn. So if you're struggling losing body fat, and you're like, I'm working out, I'm eating right, and I'm just like, I'm stuck, I'm at a plateau, try masculinity. It is a phenomenal product. We have so many women who have had tremendous results from it. Again, women have testosterone as well. And so for me, I have PCOS. It means polycystic ovarian syndrome. I think I'm going to do a whole episode just on that. But my point being is women with PCOS have higher levels of testosterone. It's very easier. It's much easier for me to put on muscle than a lot of other women I know because I have higher levels of testosterone. And thus, the more muscle I have, the more calories you burn on a daily basis. I think it's like every pound of muscle you have, you burn 50 more calories a day. I don't know. That could be old science. Something's at my door. But again, the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn, the more fat you burn. So if you're looking for fat loss, you got to try this one out. And then what we have here is like a fun little shelf talker or decision support. So this is, we haven't gone over nitric oxide, but if you're like, I don't know if it's a testosterone issue or if it's a nitric oxide issue. And for those of you that are just listening, it's just like a little decision helper. I have this video on YouTube as well. So if you want to check this out afterwards, it'll help you determine, is it testosterone that you're struggling with, or is it nitric oxide? And again, coming back to those 3 M's, mood, muscles, MOJO. Are you struggling getting in the mood, having that sexual desire? Are you struggling putting on muscle? I'm working out, I'm eating protein, I'm taking creatine, BCAAs, and I'm not noticing the definition I should be. Could be low testosterone levels. And then lastly is that MOJO, that's that drive and that inner confidence. If you've noticed a decrease with that, and you just really want that boost of confidence, highly recommend looking into trying a natural testosterone support. Well, guys, that actually, before we wrap up, a lot of times individuals ask if you can take a nitric oxide support and a testosterone support the same time, absolutely. I'd recommend, though, taking them at different times of the day. So testosterone support would be pretty much anytime. Nitric oxide is more prior to an activity, whether that's sexual activity or physical athletic activity. So hopefully if you had that question, that will cover it. But I mean, I've never given this to a man and he hasn't noticed a benefit or found some positive support from this. So if you're on the edge, I highly recommend trying it out. But again, it's going to help support low testosterone levels, bringing it to balance. We're not adding more into the body than it needs to be. And so that's why it's also very safe for women, because we're not adding more than your body can handle. We're just freeing up how maybe you have 3 cows in your farm, whereas a man might have 50 cows. We're not adding more. We're just bringing it back to balance. Whatever's already in there, we're making that usable. So hopefully that was helpful, and stay tuned. We have some other male podcast episodes coming out for you, as well as that PCOS one. So hopefully this was helpful and you enjoyed it, and I will chat with you all soon.